Welcome back. So, Her Ladyship, Justice Sophia Akuffo, is our guest. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Doing very well.
Some people like to retire. You don't retire. You've been in public service for... I've been calculating, became a Supreme Court judge in 95. So that's 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you are still in public service. You're on the Council of State. And you are still with IEA as a distinguished fellow. What is it with serving Ghana that enamors you so much, that has made you relentless in this life of public service?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm retired with certain activities. Yes, because these days nobody completely retires, so keeps the blood flowing.
But you are on the Council of State currently.
Yes.
And that's going to be for how long? Do you know that was the term for the Council of State?
For the duration of the government.
Of this government?
Yes.
So you are like the advisory board of the head of state. You sort of, he bounces important issues off you. Is that what the Council of State does?
Yes, the Constitution spells out certain things which need to be brought before the Council of State, before the President makes final decisions. So it's an advisory body.
So your advice is not binding on him?
That's what the Supreme Court decided.
We'll later on talk about what needs to change within our constitution. But you've lived with this constitution for long, because as I said, you became a justice of the Supreme Court in 95. So you've seen this document in all its in all its manifestations. First question, has the Fourth Republic served us well?
I do believe so. That's why it has lasted for this long. Yes. So the Fourth Republic, or the Constitution of the Republic, has to a very large extent served us well, and it helped us to stabilize our independence, so to speak. Therefore, the Constitution is a document that I have a lot of respect for. But then, there is nothing in human creation that is sacrosanct, or that should be intended to remain the same forever and ever. Amen. The things must evolve, and therefore there are many parts. Having lived under the Constitution for this long, by the grace of God, there are still improvements to be made.
So you will agree with a process to, is it review or rewrite?
Oh, review. Not
review.
Complete rewriting. Review. There are parts that have served us well. There are parts that have served reasonably well, but could do better after we have practiced it for a while, could do with some tweaking here and there. Yes. And there are some parts that should be revised, and maybe there could be some other things that could be added.
There's a general view by a lot of those who feel the Constitution needs to be reviewed that it gives too much power to the executive. As a general, they say that's the texture they get in whether the manner he appoints people in the police or the army heads, or even the relationship between the executive and the other arms of state. They feel like at the time, maybe that worked, but having done this for 33 years, the Constitution needs to be re-looked at in rebalancing the power. Is that a view you
yes,
you agree with?
I endorse that. I endorse that view. There are a number of constitutional bodies, for example, that are set up. How appointments are made to those constitutional bodies could do with a revision, so as to enhance the independence. It shouldn't be apparent independence, it should be real independence. Independence in outlook, independence in the distance between the operations of that institution and the executive, or even and the legislature for that matter. When it's supposed to be an independent body, independence must be seen to be done. And there are too many, practically all the constitutional bodies, there's too much involvement of the executive. And things have evolved. Even in practice, we have seen the shortcomings. And if we take a world view and we are looking at international best practices have also changed. Some of these methods of appointment, maybe we borrowed from somewhere else or the other. And some of these have also changed even in the places where we were borrowing them from. And we need to, that is one of the reasons why there have to be these changes.
Must the review also take into cognizance the recent, I know you don't want to go specific into details of the former CJ, but at least the idea of securing the judiciary, because of course you've served your whole life almost in the judiciary, from executive dominance. For example, some people feel the way 146 is written and the way it manifested in the previous case is not a good example. So if there's going to be a review, 146 must be looked at again. Is that something you believe?
Not only 146. It's important to reconceive the judiciary and how appointments are made, judicial discipline, removal from the bench. All these need a second look. I have a very passionate view, and I have had it for quite a long time, long before recent events, about how the judiciary is appointed, because the manner in which that the appointment is made leaves a lot to be desired. There is not much transparency in the process, and it's important for that to happen, because otherwise then it leads to all kinds of speculation. Oh, this one got appointed because of this and that, and so on and so forth, because they may not know the reality of the qualifications and the merits of the appointment, because somebody was picked and some name was dropped and so on and so forth. So there's even the appointment. So the methodology of the appointment leaves a lot to be desired. And the trend these days is to have an independent body made up of people or persons who are representing certain social bodies. Mm-hmm. So you're there not because some political person liked you. You're on that body because you're a member of a certain group. So
it's like the National Media Commission. It's representatives of various bodies, and then they choose their head.
Exactly. And then, has there ever been any horrible controversy about the appointments in the Media Commission?
No.
No.
Because sometimes even the person who leads it may not be the president's nominee.
No.
They are free to choose who they want to.
Exactly.
Even though the president has some nominees on the commission.
Yeah, and even then, the number of such nominees should be kept at the barest minimum, because you ask yourself, why this number? And why should there be such nominees? Tell us. And the justification, no one has ever been able to tell me why.
Do you believe there should be a limit to the number of justices on the Supreme Court, for example?
I always make a long argument when I'm asked that question, because before you will put a limit on, you can begin to talk about a limit on the number of Supreme Court justices. You need to also then look at the scope and magnitude of the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. To the extent, and for so long as you have a Supreme Court to which everybody has a right of access if they keep appealing along the hierarchy, how can you limit the number of the judges? They are overworked.
The workload is too much.
Yes, they are overworked because there is no limit to the, even in terms of value of the case, there's no limit as to subject matter, there's no limit. And you will notice, if you were to do some quick research, that in every jurisdiction where there is a certain limit to the number of justices, it's because the cases that can, the sort of cases that can come to the Supreme Court is also limited. And then, for example, in the U.S. Supreme Court, which has a different thing, it's up to the court, outside the court, to decide what case. So pre-court, they decide what cases they're doing. And they will decide, this year, we're doing X number of appeals. And that's it. So, but ours is come one, come all. And I can give you some of the most ridiculous situations whereby maybe somebody applied for stay of proceedings in the circuit court.
As low as the circuit court?
Yeah, in the circuit court. And the court refused it. So they appealed to the Court of Appeal on the refusal to stay proceedings. And the Court of Appeals says, yeah, we uphold the decision of the circuit court.
Yeah.
And then the person wants
appeal to Caesar.
Yes. And then they will want a stay, they want a stay of the decision of the Court of Appeal, which upheld the,
it's like the class prefect bringing every dispute to the headmaster straight.
That's what
without going through the class teacher.
No, even if you go, there should be a limit to
the cases that get to the headmaster.
Yes.
So there's a frivolity there. So
there
we can't discuss the number if we don't look at the way, what type of case can even get there. So they must be discussed in tandem.
That must be discussed. Okay. And that must be, there should be a cut-off point. In some jurisdictions, they'll decide that it is only matters which raise issues of law, not issues of fact. Issues of fact after the Court of Appeals is enough. But you must be raising only issues of law. And even the issues of law must be novel. Shouldn't be something which has been rehashed over and over and over again. There have been so many decisions. So whatever decisions were made along the way were based on existing precedents. And so unless there's some fundamental change in circumstances that will justify asking the Supreme Court to change its stance on a particular matter, you should not be coming to rehash.
Finally, I know yourself and Prof. Michael Quay, under the aegis of the IEA, have already done some work on constitutional review. Is that part of what is going on? Because the concern is that every government comes with a flavor. President Mills set up a committee, Fiajo chaired it, they produced a 1,000-page report. President Akuffo came, Osechi Mensah and co did some work, I think, and that work was presented to President Mahama. Now President Mahama has appointed H. Kwesi Prempeh to do another job. Of course, he tells us all the previous jobs are part, but it seems it's almost like every regime has their own flavor of how do we end this? How do we get to a point where we all agree that this job is for all of us and it's once and for all?
Well, we just have to agree as a nation, or the decision makers have to simply agree that once the Prempeh committee comes up with its recommendations, and it goes through the necessary processes, and we vote on it. Let's live with it and work with it and see what happens. You see, because we must never proceed on the concept that the Constitution is cast in stone. It is not. It is not cast in stone. It must not be seen as cast in stone. Otherwise, you strangle yourself as a nation, because a Constitution must be responsive to the people as the years go on. And that is what Justice Sowa called a living constitution. It is responsive, and it must have meaning from generation to generation. And the only way it can have that, partly through judicial interpretation and construction and things like that, that's a judicial evolution, but also through periodic revisions that will catch up with the times.
Wonderful.
Yes.
This is the point of view. We're speaking to Her Ladyship, Justice Sophia Akuffo, reflecting on many things. When we come back, we'll delve into a very troubling report that the United Nations Children Fund released, Sheltered Yet Exposed. The report found that close to 52% of female students in HSSs were sexually assaulted over a 3.5-year period. It raises some very serious concerns about how our females in school are preyed upon. We'll discuss some of those. Later on, we'll also talk about natural resource governance, one of the pet subjects of the IEA. Stay with us.